Man, that is awesome. That's the signature. That's the signature right there. That's what we needed.
Awesome. Rocco.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Puleo. We are at his store, Apples and Oranges on Delaware. Can we get the full address?
3048 Delaware Avenue, Kenmore, New York. 14217 for your GPS.
Let's go. Come on down. Get yourself some music. I wanted to do this interview for a while. This is someone I look up to very much. Thank you so much, George. I love you, man.
I love you too, bro.
That was so good.
You got it?
That might have been. So this week we're on episode 8. I'm very excited for this one. This is a special episode for me. This is local guitar player and business owner. His name is George Puleo. I don't think I've been in his life for a long time, but he's been in mine for a very long time. Growing up as a local musician in Buffalo, there are a handful of names that stick out of people that you should try to be next to or go listen to or take some advice from, and George Puleo was one of those guys. He's one of my favorite guitar players, not only in Buffalo, but in the entire world. He's one of my favorite people to work with and to talk to. He has incredible stories. Music has brought him to many places and has taught me a lot of things about my own city. We're going to learn a lot about George, and we're actually going on location to his own record shop today.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Like, that is the equivalent, I feel. I don't know if it's the same. I was thinking of like a comedian owning a comedy club.
Right. That's
like,
you know
is
what I
it
mean?
the same, or would it be a musician owning like a production, like a studio? Because it's you're swimming in music. You love music, and the way he organizes the store with like no genres and all that stuff.
So cool.
It's just like you have to go there wanting to spend an hour there.
You know what I mean?
You can't just walk in and be like, oh, I want to go to this section. It's like, no, you got to find it.
And within like these branches of, you know, what people choose to do for their life or for their living or whatever, you see the different influences within that. Like it gets detailed. So like George has been collecting records for a very long time. This is just a normal part of his musical journey, right? So I would say yes to that question. In some ways, that's like a comedian owning a comedy club.
Yeah.
Same type of vibe, where it's like my life is immersed with what I love now during the day, not just at the gigs. My whole life is in this. And man, there's a beautiful, beautiful thing that's attached with that type of life. You really start to see what people value, what makes them tick, what gets them up in the morning. And that's the stuff that makes me get up. It makes me move. It motivates me. I want to interview people like George as much as I can, and I'm super excited for you guys to learn a little bit about him. This is going to be a really good episode in a very, very cool place.
Let's get into it.
What brought you and music together?
So it's probably 1963 when my mom used to walk me to school, and we used to go through this alleyway because it was a shortcut. And one day when we were coming home, there was this little plastic guitar somebody had threw it away, and it had one string on it. And I picked it up and brought it home. And I went to my back porch and started playing it, and I'm 5 years old at the time. So I think it's 1963 at this time. And I just felt like I was the king of the world in that moment. I can't explain it, but it just felt like that was a wonderful feeling to make notes and play melodies on this guitar. And I didn't put it down, you know, I couldn't put it down. And then within a year, maybe, all of a sudden this little group came to America called the Beatles.
Let's go. I was waiting
and
for
within like, I don't know, within a month, everybody in my neighborhood had drums and basses and pianos and guitars, and nobody was getting a haircut anymore, you know. And my dad was saying, I'm going to buy you a dress for your birthday. You look like a broad. Get your hair cut. I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not cutting my hair anymore. The Beatles, man, you know, come on. So I was just playing. I knew that I was like on the right path for me because the Beatles said so. And I was 6 or whatever when they came here. I think I was 6. 1964 in the summer, if you do the math, I was 6.
That's so cool.
So I was already playing the guitar, but now I could learn from the older boys in the neighborhood who were like 10 and 11. Because they could play things that I couldn't. 4 or 5 years in age is big when you're 6 and 7 years old, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they kind of didn't want me around because I could play like them, and they were older than me, so they were embarrassed. It was stupid that I could play like them, right? That was stupid. So that was the beginning. The Beatles, really. Well, actually before the Beatles, but the reaffirmation that I was on the right path because of the Beatles. That did it.
Okay, so this is hilarious that you brought this up so effortlessly because George and I had a gig last night and we were talking about the Beatles for a little while, and I was going to go into this in detail today. It's more like along lines for me, the chicken or the egg question. I was going to ask, was it the guitar or music in general that got you into music? So now I know it's this guitar. This was the main
It was this
inspiration.
one-string plastic guitar that got me in. But before that, I remember at the time there was people on television. There was a trumpet player, and I can't think of who that might have been now. Maybe it was Louis Armstrong.
Okay.
They used to feature Liberace on piano on a lot of variety shows back then, and I was just fascinated by all the people that were playing instruments. I think most children are. If you turn children on to music, they'll dance for you and they'll sing for you, and they love it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That feeling, man.
So
yeah.
I was just one of them, really, at the end of the day. But the Beatles, I don't know if you could sort of quantify the impact that they had on the world then, because nothing like that had ever happened before. Nothing like that. I mean, there was Elvis, right? And there was other people that were teen idols, but they were just singular figures that also did like acting on the side and whatever. The Beatles were a whole group and they were doing songs by people that we didn't know about. We didn't know all those Larry Williams songs and all that kind of stuff.
You were saying this last night, and not to be dramatic, but it honestly almost made me cry because it made me feel the way I feel when I remember discovering something for the first time musically. Yeah. You said, for me, the Beatles happened at the perfect time of my life.
Yeah, because I'm too young to know about sex, too young to know about drugs or alcohol or relationships or any of that stuff, where I could just, my mom and dad are at home and I could focus on the Beatles, man. What a great time.
It was unreal. You said they came at the perfect time of my life, and then you pause and then you go, it was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really made me just feel like that feeling that I got when I first heard the Temptations, when I first heard any type of music that brought me like, you know what? This is something I need to be near. I have to be next to this. I have to figure out what this means to me.
Yeah.
We're going to be always figuring it out forever. But
there's so many differences though, because like now you have so much technology that if you want to access the Beatles or Kendrick Lamar or whatever the hell it is, you can just do it. Yeah. But back then, the streets in my neighborhood were dead. Like when the Beatles were coming on TV, it was live on Ed Sullivan on Sunday evening. And if you didn't watch that, you missed it. There was no, I'll just check it out later.
Let's go back on YouTube and watch
there's
the Beatles
nothing.
show.
There's literally nothing. There was 3 channels back then in black and white TV. I mean, nobody understands
2, 4, and 7?
That's it.
Okay.
That's all there was. And if you didn't see it when it happened, you just missed it. And that was the end of it. And for a child, whatever, that's a heartbreaking experience to have to miss something like that. What would be the reason? You'd have to be in the hospital to miss something like that,
I was just going to say.
But now you can take everything for granted. You can watch whatever you want, whenever you want. There's no immediacy to any of this stuff anymore. It's amazing that any artists get any attention at all because you can always just watch it later.
Talking to a kid from the 90s, that's a beautiful, terrifying statement where like, this is on tonight and that's it. So we have to get together and catch this tonight, or you just don't ever see it ever.
Right. And that's why I think for people in my age group or whatever, Hendrix and Zeppelin and the Beatles and all that stuff is so much more special than it's not throwaway music. No. Because we couldn't take it for granted. We couldn't. There was no way to do it. Now you can take everything for granted, but you couldn't do that back then. It wasn't part of the trip,
I love hearing that, man. Like that is so.
Is that going to happen again? Can that happen again? I don't think so, because now it's all accessible and it wasn't. And the more access you have to something, the less valuable it is, right?
Oh, I know that.
If you don't have to work for it, it doesn't have that much meaning. So what are you going to do?
everything you're saying is exactly what I wanted to hear today, what I needed to hear. It's like being from Buffalo, I know as a musician there's a lot of history here. I grew up in it. Your name was a household name for my house. If I wanted to get into music, I've been hearing your name from cousins, family members. I have an older cousin. His name is Frank Vigilante, who's played music
Frankie
with
V,
you.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. We put him in a little. He has a little shout out in one of our episodes. He got me into blues and the harmonica. He would teach me harmonica lessons over the phone from New York City when I was 5, 6, 7 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So hearing this stuff as a Buffalo guy, Buffalo kid, this is extremely inspiring for me. And in my journey back home, I'm constantly finding ways to stay inspired by people who not only just know this city, but know music and love it like I do. So to hear that coming from you, that's a big deal for me. It means a lot.
Okay. Well, cool.
I'm glad you're into it too. Okay, a little bit about your past. I knew we were going to get into the Beatles. I love that guitar story. It's incredible. Literally on the street. This is one of the best guitar players I know, and he got started with a 1-string guitar from the street. Huge.
That was thrown away in the garbage by somebody.
It's unreal.
I wish I still had that thing. I don't have it, but I wish I did.
We're gonna fast forward a little bit. If my research serves me right, I want to talk about the band Gamelan a little bit, which for another Buffalo musician, this is a big name. It's a big name. 1982, if I'm not mistaken, was when Gamelan started.
Yeah, 1982.
Can we hear a little about you and the founding members here?
So I was in a band called Taxi with Ted Reinhardt.
Let's go.
And Steve Parisi and Sal Andolina. And the bass player that was in the band back then was probably Jim Kirstoffer.
Jim Kirstoffer. Shout out Jim. Rest in peace.
He was the bass when I got in. But then we had like Rick Fideli was in the band. I can't remember who else. Anyway, Ted and I were more interested in the aggressive side of instrumental music. We were into like King Crimson and Jeff Beck's instrumental stuff, and we were trying to do that stuff. And those guys were like Steve Parisi was writing music more along the lines of what Larry Carlton was doing and Spyro Gyra and sort of the
heavy fusion guys.
They're the more mellower, polite side of instrumental fusion music,
okay.
Right?
Okay, yeah, you're
and
right.
what we were doing was more louder. It was, more loud.
Hell yeah.
So I said, Ted, we should not necessarily break away from these guys, but we should really start our own band instead of trying to get them to play all these songs like, Lead Boots and all these aggressive fusion songs. We should start our own group and do this stuff separately. And so we did. We started up a band, and Ted said, I got the perfect name for it, man. Yes. And it became Gamelan, and I never knew what a Gamelan was or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And when I met John McLaughlin, I said to him, hey, man, I'm playing in this band called Gamelan. It's a fusion band. We do some of your songs. And he was like, oh, do you have a Gamelan in the group? And I was like, no. That's that kind of thing.
That's such a good
Because
story.
Jamie Moses took me to meet John McLaughlin when he was playing with the Buffalo Philharmonic at Kleinhans.
That's awesome.
Jamie Moses had the art voice paper here, and he kind of got in with a press pass to everything, and he would take me to some stuff,
So cool.
So I have pictures of me and John somewhere. But John McLaughlin was trying to tell me what a big responsibility music was. And I didn't really know what he meant at the time because I was, younger. And now I kind of figured out what he meant, but it is a big responsibility. If you're going to be serious about it on any level.
Yeah.
If
you care about anything, if you love anything, you better be, it better be serious to you. You better value it in a way if you want it to be good, right?
When I was in grammar school, my art teacher told the whole class actually, art is its own reward. And that stuck with me. It didn't stick with a lot of people that were there. So from a young age, I thought, well, I'm going to play music, but I don't necessarily expect to make any money doing it because people don't have to give you money because you do what you love. So you should try to make sure that what you do that you love might be able to help you get some income, but it's not a guarantee. Why would it be? That's not how life works.
You're right.
So I kind of tried to, that's why I don't play in what they call cover bands because I consider myself a songwriter, right? I'm not really like a guitar player. I don't want to go out and play like the Pink Floyd music or the Fleetwood Mac music or whatever. I'm not putting anybody down that does that, but that's not why I play. I play more because I'm a songwriter and I'm a creative person. I'm like one of those kind of people.
Yeah, man. You're a creative.
So I'm not doing it really for the money. It's more for the magic of it. It's a magic thing, even at this late stage of my life. It's a magical thing.
Do you think that money kills art?
No.
So do you think that the idea of making money as an artist, is it, when you're saying the cover band, right? Like, for example, a corporate comedy show is you're getting paid, but you have all these rules, but the pay is always better, where an open mic, there's no money, and in my opinion, that's where comedy lives, where it's like no pressure. Not that there's no pressure, people are just there.
Yeah, but there's always what's the word for that? There's always a lot of trickery to whatever kind of life you're going to live, right? Always. And you've got to always negotiate between what you want to do and what you're willing to do. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's very tricky. So when it's confusing. If you take an artist like, let's say Joni Mitchell, right? She never cared about making music that had to have hit songs involved in it, right? She was going to stay true to her art. But then she had a couple of hit songs. So that gets a little confusing for a moment. Do I want to try to do that again? Because, geez, that's a lot of money coming in, man. You know, like, what do I want to try to replicate that again? Look what that did to Michael Jackson, for example. You know, he made Thriller, and before Thriller was what I think was a better album called Off the Wall. It was a lot more fun, but Thriller was bigger, right? So then he wanted to duplicate that, and you can't duplicate something like that. You know, it's not something that can happen in this life.
You're so right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it gets confusing, and then it brings on unnecessary agitation in your soul that you don't need, man. You don't need that extra negative energy coming at you, because as an artist, you're already really vulnerable. That's what art is all about, is being vulnerable and being open. You're not protecting yourself when you're creating art. You're leaving yourself wide open for whatever, right?
Yeah.
So then when you get that kind of response to it, then you get confused about what your next approach should be. And nowadays, I don't see anybody making it past like even their third or fourth album. You know, they don't get, because they're trying to replicate something that they had done before instead of doing what they had set out to do originally, which was to make art. You know,
I literally have goosebumps, man.
It's hard to figure this stuff out, man. It's hard for everyone.
That was wild.
Yeah, and is that the difference of like a manager, people who are repped and unrepped? Like, is a manager that supposed traditionally the business person, where you're like, I just want to do art?
Well, they're important, because if you're a comedian, you can't call up a club and say, look, I'm the funniest comedian out here. But if I'm your manager and I say, look, Mark is one of the funniest guys you're ever going to see, it sounds more reasonable, right? So that's why artists usually have managers, because they don't want to promote themselves like that, or their art. Because like I said, art is its own reward. After you've gotten to do something artistic, like write a song or make a record or something, I think a lot of artists even feel guilty that they get to do that, because there's a lot of people that won't even have a fucking sandwich today. And here I am worried about, you know, I'm not sure about that bass part. Maybe you should change the tone of that bass line, you know? Like, really? That's what's important? Yeah. So artists get like, I don't know if it's necessarily guilt, but they know they've gotten away with something if they get to make a record. So how big do you want to promote it, you know?
I'm so happy that you're talking about this stuff, man. In my novice days in New York City, I can't tell you how many times I've made the mistake of bringing up business in a session with the artist I'm working with.
Why would you do that?
Because I didn't know, right? It's the most ridiculous stuff. And then slowly, based on their reaction, you're like, wait, or you don't get called back. What did I do wrong for this? What did I do? Hey, what are we planning on doing with this track? What? Have your people hit my people up. We're just supposed to create in this room. What are you clouding the air with that BS?
There's a separate place for all of that.
Exactly.
And I don't really trust anybody to be my manager. I never did. And there's too many horror stories out there about that stuff. I mean, you have to put different hats on. Sometimes you try to be a producer, you try to be a writer, you try to be a performer, you try to be a manager, whatever. You know, you have to wear a lot of different hats to try to do it. Most people are not successful at that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking about like money, most people are not successful at music.
Absolutely.
And there's brilliant players out there.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's no guarantee that you make money doing that.
Without a doubt. People and kids we've never heard of that are 10 times better than anyone we know. You'll never.
But see, for me now, and I know everybody can't say this, but for me, when I started playing the guitar, I didn't know anything about money because I was a child. So I didn't know anything about paying bills or needing a job or any. You don't know that stuff if you're allowed to be a child when you are one. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So it has a much more of like a pure sort of spiritual thing for me that maybe a lot of people don't have because they didn't start when they were children, or they're just wired differently than me. You know, we're not all wired the same to think of all this stuff in the same manner because it's not the
Absolutely.
same. Like you don't agree with me about everything. I don't agree with you about everything. It's not the way life works. You've got to
It'd be
communicate
very
with each
boring.
other, and you can learn things from each other, but you don't have to agree about everything.
For sure.
You know?
It'd be a very boring life if everyone agreed about the same shit.
Yeah,
know?
we probably do more than we don't, but there's still a lot of things we
True.
don't
That's
about,
true.
you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely
But
right.
that's what you do when you play music. You have to find like-minded people to agree that this is how the song begins, this is what key it's in, this is its tempo, and this is how it ends. If we don't all agree on that, it's not really going to be a song of any kind, right?
Yeah. I love it when people are like, well, I just love playing music with no rules. I'm like, you're hilarious for that because like we don't have to call them rules, but there are a set of guidelines. Like we do know what we're doing to a certain degree. Like there's a job for everyone up here, you know? Like
Yeah, but you know, there's also that part of like what we do where I try to challenge myself with trying to play something that I've never played before.
I love that.
Because if I just play the same stuff that I've always played, then it's not really doing what we're intending on doing.
So true. Yeah.
But that's different from what being in a band generally is, or having a gig.
It's true. And a lot of us too, it's like we have safe spaces on our instrument, safe places, right?
Yeah.
We're like, we know I can play this, or I've heard this before. This is under my fingers already. So I'm going to whip it out in this session, right? Which is hilarious, right? Like when you're afterward, you're like, you know what? I totally could have done something that I've never done before.
You hear
and
it
would have
back and you're like, again?
Yep, it would have brought us somewhere cooler than where we just left off. And I love talking about that. I love having those types of conversations. It's like life, really. It's like literally living like that in that world, you know? It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It really
I
is.
don't know how long I'll get to do any of that, so I want to get the most out of that, you know?
George, you're going to be with us a lot longer than I think that you think. Real quick, we're going to get out of the past here in a second. And let me know if there's any validity to this, because I found it a little bit surprising. The band Gamelan starts in 1982, but we don't see the first self-titled record till 87? Is that right?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Can we talk about that for a sec?
When we started out, we were playing King Crimson and Larry Carlton,
Oh, hell yeah.
Jeff Beck,
Yep.
and a lot of these kind of artists, their instrumental stuff, you know? But Bruce Bricado, the other guitar player in Gamelan, was just an amazing writer. And right from the beginning, he had these tunes, and I had a couple of tunes that I had written. I was playing in the Jamie Moses band when I wrote the song called Ooh Babe, which was on our first album, dedicated to Robert Plant, because of the thing he used to sing all the time. That was Ooh Babe. And so it took us a long time to develop original material, and we didn't have any money. Sure. So Ted's parents, who owned the Brighton Eggert flower shop
Yes.
on Brighton and Eggert, which is still there, Tommy Reinhardt runs it still, they were going to fund the record. But the word got out that we were packing the Central Park Grill on Tuesday nights. And the only record company in town, really, I think, was Amherst Records, and Lenny Silver had heard about that, and he was the one responsible for getting Spyro Gyra signed. So he figured, well, if they're packing a club in Buffalo on Tuesday nights, what would they do on a Thursday night in Chicago or a Friday night in Cleveland, you know?
New York.
Maybe
Saturday
they
in
need
New
a
York.
record deal.
Yeah, man.
But we had started recording the record, and we wound up putting it out on their label and signing a contract with them. And so that's why it took a long time. I wasn't even thinking it would become a recording band, because if you look at what I had done, back in 1984, I put out an album called Puleo with Flick. Richard Flick Williams was the lead singer. Jerry Livingston plays bass on it.
Shout out Jerry, man.
Zach Colbert plays bass. Derek McAllister plays drums. Ted Reinhardt plays drums. Jeremy Wall from Spyro Gyra is on that record. Jerry Velez, the percussionist for Hendrix at Woodstock, is on that record.
That is amazing.
You know, there was some people on. I was trying to do like a pop rock funk thing on my own, thinking that, you know, that's how I'll make, because I'm a songwriter. I never thought of myself as being a guitar player. I'm not trying to live in the world of guitar players. You know, there's some guitar, and there always was guitar players out there that are just ridiculously phenomenal. I ain't one of them cats, man, and I ain't trying to be. I don't sweep, I don't tap, I don't play all that crazy shit. I don't play to impress other people. My whole inspiration for playing is the idea of writing songs and being expressive in the moment. So I wouldn't consider that being a guitar player. I'm a songwriter. And that's what I was doing. So, but, you know, again, it didn't work out that way. Like, God had other plans for me. Sorry if it offends anybody that I said God. Too bad.
No.
Fuck off. You know? But,
I
mean,
love it.
You make plans in life and then they don't work out the way that you want them to, but you've got to adapt to what does happen. But if you've got some gratitude in your heart about things, then I think for me, I really can't complain about any of it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, I love to hear that. Yeah.
Although I didn't get to tour with Seal and I'm not on any Robert Plant records, still in all, I'm pretty good because I play with fucking Damone Jackson.
I was just going to say, in the heart and minds of many, you're right up there on the same level as our friend Seal or whatever. You can
And
name
they're
any
not
of them.
playing with Damone Jackson.
Definitely not. Packing it at CPG every Tuesday night.
You know what
like
I'm saying?
Literally doing the thing.
Shit.
Yeah. We're going to get to Damone in 2 seconds here. We love Damone. I want to know about Apples and Oranges record store. We are in George's business right now. He is not only a local, and my dad yells at me for using too many superlatives, but he's not only a local legend as far as the guitar goes, but he's also a successful business owner out here on Delaware Avenue. He owns Apples and Oranges Records. When did you open Apples and Oranges up?
So I was working here. This has been a record store for over 30 years. It was the Record Mine, and then for 20 years it was called the Record Baron. And I was working here for my friend Dan Doherty, thanks to his son James Doherty, who kind of insisted that I would be working for the family, helping out with the records, because I've always been a record collector. And then they moved out to their bigger location that they were paying for rent for, but it wasn't a store. It's out on Broadway in Depew. It's still called the Record Baron. But when they decided to move out, I just moved my stuff in and said, okay, well, I'll start my own record store. What the hell? Because I had been working here for him. And I love records, you know, and I'm at an age now where it's kind of like, you know, it's time to retire a little bit and enjoy what's left, right? So, you know, I don't live far from here, and I love records and talking about music with people, and so here I am. It's Apples and Oranges because people thought I named it after the Syd Barrett song, but I didn't know about the Syd Barrett song.
Okay.
It's Apples and Oranges because my mom used to say that all the time. Like, you know, I like the Beatles, you like the Stones. It's Apples and Oranges. Some people say Nas is the greatest rapper. Some people say it's Kendrick Lamar. Some people say it's Jay, whatever. It's Apples and Oranges, man.
I love that.
You know, so I don't have the music broken up into categories because who are you to call someone a jazz artist? Who am I to say this is rock?
It's because it's Apples and Oranges,
It's
man.
Apples and Oranges. You know, it's music. And nowadays, especially with younger people, they like a lot of different styles of music. They're not into just one bag.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just alphabetical. It's only 7 racks. It's a lot of cool shit in here. And it takes an hour maybe to go through everything. And I put out new stuff every day. And
That's the way to do it,
You know,
man.
it's fun.
It's gorgeous in here. There's a vibe like none other. It feels warm. It feels like George. It's incredible.
Good.
It's awesome to be in here, man.
It's such a blessing to have this, you know?
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me.
I wasn't planning it, but you're welcome. But this wasn't a plan. This is how you just adapt to what's happening in your life at the time, you know? And because it's my business, like if Damone said, hey, we can go on the road for 3 weeks or whatever, well, I can go. I can lock the door and go because I'm the boss of it. I don't have to consult with the boss to
That's
do
all.
it.
That always feels the best,
Right?
Yeah.
So that works out pretty good, too.
Super cool, man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Damone for a sec. You've mentioned him a couple of times. He's one of my favorite musicians in Buffalo. He so willingly did an episode with us. It was great.
Yeah, I saw it.
I love. Thank you for watching. I love hearing. And I love playing with Damone. I love hanging out with Damone. I kind of wanted to get into what you're doing now. So you're in the Damone Jackson Outcome. How often you guys play?
Well, right now we're only playing every Tuesday night at the Central Park Grill at 7:00. It's 2519 Main Street in Buffalo, and it's a great time.
When did you start playing with the Damone Jackson Outcome?
I think we started that group. It's got to be about 6 or 7 years ago now.
That's so cool.
Well, what happened was Damone. I was playing with Haiku.
That's your band,
That
correct?
was my band with Jim Wynn on bass and Hugh Arthur on drums and Spencer Bolden on percussion.
That's so awesome,
And
man.
Damone came out to hear us because we used to have a residency at the Sportsman's Tavern.
Oh, shout out Sportsman.
And so I said, Damone, you know, I've heard a lot about you, man. People are talking about you. Well, you want to come up and sit in? And he was like, oh, no, man, I'm good. And I'm like, no, come on, man. Come play a tune. He's like, I don't know any of your stuff. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. You know, it's all instrumental. You'll be fine. And so he came up and we played this song that I had written for my mom called Lena. It's a ballad, right? From one of the old Gamelan albums. Damone had never heard it before. And I could almost like start crying telling this story. He played that song better, and nothing against Ted. I love Ted Reinhardt. Everybody knows Ted is the best, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying anything bad about anybody by saying this. What Damone did, considering the circumstances and that he'd never heard the song, it brought me to tears and it blew my mind. And as soon as we were done, I said, Damone, you've got to come to my house. We have to talk. And he was like, what? Like, what? You know, he was like freaking out. Like, what does this old guy want with me? You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, we have to talk like right away. You got to come to my house. And so he came over, I don't know, like a week or two later. And I said, we have to do something together because that was extraordinary. And that has never happened before. I've played with a lot of people. Nothing like that has ever happened. I mean, you could talk to Jim Wynn about it and get his take on it, but that was just ridiculous. So I said, let's just pick a couple of musicians and go out and book a gig and see what happens. And he's like, what songs do you want to do? I'm like, well, we don't need to do songs. Let's just go play. We know how to mess around on our instruments. Let's just go somewhere and do that.
Yeah.
And see what happens. So the very first gig was with Tiger Chung Lee. Do you know them cats?
Why is that so familiar? Is it a Buffalo band, right? Yeah. I've
real
heard of this
funky.
group.
Ham Sub is the lead singer.
Oh, yeah, Ham Sub. Okay, I've heard of this band before.
Killer band.
Yeah, I've heard of this band.
We went and played with them for like 2 people at, what's the name of that place? Downtown. I can't think of that. Mohawk Place?
Oh, yeah, Mohawk Place. Yeah.
Downtown?
Yep, it's downtown.
And at the beginning, we had Jim Wynn was on bass, and we had a violinist. Oh, he's going to kill me. I can't think of his name. I'm losing my memory, man.
Hang on.
I can't think of his name right now because I haven't talked to him in a long, long time. Anyway, it was that quartet, and that's how we started out. But we didn't start a band with them. We had some other ideas, and we wound up getting other people, various people. Like a lot of people have been in and out of there.
Okay.
But the short story is when we had Jack Culp on bass and Jason Moynihan on saxophone and guitar, we went to the studio because we had developed some of these ideas, and I said, Damone, we have to make records. Because here's the other thing about all of this. I have been, for a lot of my adult life, a severe alcoholic, okay? So when I got sober, I realized that I was in this not to be in bars playing music, because that's not the music business, that's the bar business. I got in this to make records, and I had forgotten about that, because you get free beer. It's really that simple. You know?
You're hilarious.
And I quit drinking, so I was like, hey, wait a minute. I was doing this to make records. What am I doing? So the deal was to get Damone on some records, and he had already had a lot of studio experience because he played with Tommy Z and Bobby Parker and Freight Train.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He'd been on a bunch of records already, so
Okay.
he had studio experience.
Yeah.
But the idea is to, get him out there because he's like the new, to me, Damone is like the new, let's say, Art Blakey.
Dude, that's
Okay.
a great way to, that's a good example. It's
Or
a good way
something
to phrase it like
right?
that. Yeah.
Or the new Billy Cobham, whatever.
He's pioneering a new sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, or Max Roach, whoever you want to put there, right? So that when you go see Damone Jackson, the players are going to be killer. It doesn't really matter what their
It's a
names
package
are.
deal. It comes with the name.
It comes, yeah.
Yep.
Whoever he's playing with is going to be kind of like, pretty good. You won't want your money back,
that
kind
was
of a
great.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I don't expect him to be around Buffalo much longer because I think bigger things are going to happen.
I think
for
so
him,
too.
Or they should.
They should.
if things go the way they do in Hollywood, I don't know, you know. According to all the Hollywood movies I've seen, the next
Someone
thing
like
that happens,
Damone usually gets further along.
yeah, he
exactly.
gets the girl in the end. You
Yeah,
know?
I think he will get the girl.
Yeah.
I think it's coming.
Yeah, that's what hopefully happens, right? He kind of deserves that. And again, not to be putting other drummers down. That's not what I'm doing when I'm saying what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
People they tend to think that it's an attack against them if they're.
No, you're just talking about Damone, man.
I'm just talking strictly
Yeah.
about Damone and not other musicians.
No, not at all,
But
yeah.
There's a lot of amazing drummers and bass players and stuff everywhere.
without
right?
a doubt.
Yeah,
I love that, man.
yeah. I don't want to. I'm not here to like push anybody's buttons.
No, I don't feel
You
that
know?
way at all. This is just the truth. If you go to CPG on a Tuesday night, you'll feel it. You'll see what it is.
I think
you know?
so. I mean, it's nothing but love in that room.
It's not. I'm so fortunate. I'm blessed to be able to be welcomed into that community in any capacity. During the summer, I mentioned in the Damone episode, you guys had me in to sit in this summer, and some Tuesdays I'm there with you guys. And honestly, it changes my week. It changes the mood of my week and helps me get through anything that I can't really understand or fog in my mind or make me feel weird. Tuesday nights get me out of that funk.
It's very purposeful, right?
Yeah.
It is a spiritual component to it that really, I don't think that can be denied. Really,
Nope.
I wouldn't want to close my mind off from the idea that it's a spiritual awakening
Without a
that
doubt.
takes place there.
You know, one that I need, yeah.
Because it's not a show-offy kind of a, look what I can do.
No, you leave your ego
It's
at
not
the door.
that kind of a thing.
You leave your
It's-
ego at the door, and we're trying to contribute to something bigger than us.
like-minded people are trying to just do stuff together, and the people that come to hear it, they also come to just witness it
Yeah,
because you don't see it every day.
that's so true, man.
You know?
That's really it, too, for me. So I have one thing that I have to do. I just have to do it. So my dad at home has, and let me get under here, sorry. My dad at home has this thing he likes to call his wall of fame. Half the wall is me. Which
Yeah.
I'm very, that's so nice of him. It's cute. The other half is actually like really cool memorabilia signed by people that he really looks up to in the music business. He's loved music. He's what turned me on to any type of music in my life. He's been saving, I'm not even joking, he's been saving this newspaper clip for over a year. And he goes, Dom, when you see George, I need him to sign the clip, and I got to frame it and put it on my wall.
Awesome.
On this wall is a signed picture of Dean Martin. It's a sign, there's a sign, literal, I was in a group with Stella Santana, who's Santana's daughter. We played for a little while. She sent me for my dad for Christmas a concert flyer signed by Santana for my dad. That's framed and up there. A couple really cool things up there. And this needs to be a part of his collection. So if you don't mind, maybe
Yeah, I
on
could-
Aladdin, we can get you to sign this for him and get it on the wall. This is a big one for him.
Over here?
Anywhere. His name's Rocco, Rocco. Man, that is awesome. That's the signature. That's the signature right there. That's what we needed.
Awesome. Rocco.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Puleo. We are at his store, Apples and Oranges on Delaware. Can we get the full address?
3048 Delaware Avenue, Kenmore, New York, 14217 for your GPS.
Let's go. Come on down. Get yourself some music. I wanted to do this interview for a while. This is someone I look up to very much. Thank you so much, George. I love you, man.
I love you too, bro.
That was so good.
You got it?
Something that I started doing recently, the last couple months, is I'm actually I'm paying my neighbors downstairs $100 a month of for inconvenience fees.
All right.
I'm telling you.
Wait, what's the problem here is that, like, since you were a kid, I know people have been telling you that the way you say things is the funny thing to them. So there's a mixture of that with this here.
Okay.
What have you been doing to inconvenience these people?
Living. The people who live above me, I could only assume are centaurs. And I'm like, you're centaurs?
Is a centaur a person
half
with a
man, half horse?
So 4 hooves,
Yes, and a human top.
arms,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Arms
yeah.
and
arms
I guess
and
it's
head.
like a goat head.
It's a human head with horns,
Yeah,
right?
it's a human head with horns, but we're talking at probably at least 1,000 pounds. And I just have no clue what the hell these people are doing. And you've been at my house and they're blasting like the Discovery Channel. Like who has
We'll go to Mark's to edit, and it sounds like when I used to try to like hook up with girls for the first time, I'd bring them in my room with surround sound and throw on Planet Earth. Like, oh, this is going to be impressive. I don't have a car, but you should come and check out.
Yeah, check out these
Planet
fine
Earth.
speakers that I have.
Check out these dope speakers. High fidelity episode of The Wombat this evening.
Yeah.
Look at we'll be editing at Mark sometimes, and out of nowhere, like you'll just hear vroom,
Yeah.
and there's
Shit's
like a
falling off my walls.
fucking like movie production announcement. You
Yeah.
know, like we know they're starting a flick up there or whatever.
But
like
who the hell listens to speakers that loud? I told you, it's like my dad. My dad will pass out at the TV at like 120%.
Yep.
I have never in my life met someone who watches TV this loud as these people upstairs. And I'm just like, you live in an apartment building and you're blasting with, I don't know how, I knew that it was over when these people moved in and I saw the box for a 60-inch TV. I'm like, this is it.
there's no hearing impairment situation.
No.
These are just regular human beings that
Centaurs. They are centaurs because the way that they walk around
are
upstairs,
hoofed people.
hoofed people. But no, like I felt it was a disservice to the people underneath me, and I started giving them $100 a month because I'm like, look, I'm going to be walking around, I'm going to be doing stuff, and I think that I want to start this as a trend.
You're fucking with me, bro. This is crazy. The $100 inconvenience fee is hilarious, bro.
I think it should be a trend, you know, like. I think we need to start paying for inconvenience fees, you know, like for example, I think at a restaurant that serves alcohol, you shouldn't be allowed to bring kids. It's not Chuck E. Cheese. It's not the Olive Garden. Okay, maybe the Olive Garden. And I believe that if you bring your kids to a restaurant, you need to pay a tax that goes to not the owner of the
Gotta
restaurant.
write this down. Child tax.
Not the owner of the restaurant, but it goes to the people sitting around you.
Shut up. Maybe if it could pay for their meal.
It should. There is a percentage that you get charged for bringing your kids per kid. You pay a tax to bring your kids to a restaurant.
What's the age cutoff?
I would say like 17.
17. These kids are smoking joints at the table and their
Yeah.
first time smoking.
Yeah,
Bro,
well,
you're hilarious.
okay, maybe-
It's got to
okay.
be 6, dude. Like,
6. No, they can still be running around at 6. Like I would say, okay, we'll say 12.
Okay.
12 is the cutoff.
12-year-old child tax.
It's a child tax that doesn't go to the owner, doesn't go to the government. It goes to the radius of people sitting around you. That has like if I was a politician, that would be my platform. Child tax in restaurants.
Look, we're trying to have child reform in our restaurants, people. This is a serious situation that, you know, we know Byron Brown isn't dealing with this right now. If he won't plow the side streets, there's no way these kids aren't in these restaurants.
causing ruckus. And because you know what? I'm not a parent, okay? I know that you got to live your life as a parent, but you need to pick and choose your battles. You cannot bring your kids that are clearly animals to a public place where people are trying to hang out. Maybe they're on a date, maybe they're trying to work. You know, it's like there should not be kids in that environment. And if you don't address your kids that are running around, that's even worse. And that's why the tax has to come in.
All right, I have a question.
Yes.
I had a couple questions based on this whole idea of the child tax. But they led me here. How are you dealt with as a child when you acted out? When you acted out?
I had a leash.
You're lying to me.
I had a harness. I was
Wait
gone.
a sec. You were a leash kid, dude?
I was a leash kid.
You're dead ass. I've
100%.
never met one in real life.
This
Like,
is it. In
this is
living
a grown
color.
version of a leash kid is
Yes,
right here?
Yes. I am very laid back, monotone-esque now, but as a kid, I was like a spider monkey all over the place. Like I'm not against any medication that you might be on or a kid might be on, but I thank God every day that my parents didn't put me on ADD medication, because I don't know how I would have changed my brain, my thought process, you know? Like, teachers hated me. They would, in elementary school, they would talk to my mom and be like, we don't know what to do with
Bro,
it.
this is fascinating for me right now.
I wasn't allowed to talk after 3 p.m. Because I went to a small school and we had grade 7, 8, or as you guys say in the States, 7th grade.
What do you mean grade 7, 8? You guys love to Yoda everything up there.
We say
You
grade
backwards at every.
No, you guys backwards it. Because we say grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. You're in grade number.
The first grade.
No, I've never in my
The
life.
second grade.
I never heard that till I came to the States. It is for sure an American backwards thing. And I was in a grade 7, 8 split class and had the same teacher for 2 years.
Ah, okay.
And he was like, Mark can't speak after 3 o'clock. His brain shuts down. Like, I would ask, I was the why kid. I was always asking why. And it would
pain in the ass,
Yeah.
dude. Why? But why is it? Because that's why. But why?
Yeah, because the teachers would never know. They'd get past 2 whys, and then they would like lose it on me.
the
I had-
history.
I had a leash, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we reached the pinnacle of this episode. I've been wanting to talk to someone that's.
We've leached.
Did I say that?
No, we've leached.
We've leashed.
We've leached the pinnacle.
We're leashed at the peak of the episode right now because this is such a fascinating thing for me. There are a couple things about childhood, which I know about how, everyone grows up different, but there are a couple things, being homeschooled, there are a couple things that stand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The leashed children is a big controversial thing in the States, right?
Really?
It's a huge deal down here.
Like, in what sense?
Like, it's massively frowned upon.
Really? Like today or like 20 years ago?
Like, since the idea of leashing your kid is a thing. Now, I find this fascinating for this reason. This is not a big deal for you at all. It was very easy for you to tell me that your parents had you on a literal leash as a child.
Yeah, it was like a whole harness. I was harnessed.
It's not cool, dude. So the thing is, I don't know what the entire principle is behind it, but it's like your kids you should be able to get a hold of your child or teach them. It shouldn't, like, I guess it's assumed as like the lazy version of taking care of them. They could be sitting on your lap, they take off and you just grab that leash and yank them back.
It was
rather
only
than getting up to like chase your kid and being like, look at what I'm doing.
It was
so what you're doing is wrong,
It
like,
was when we went to like the mall, because it didn't just happen overnight from my understanding. Like, I was notorious in like department stores.
you were a runner.
I
Like,
was gone.
That's what I'm saying.
I was hiding in clothing racks.
Did you hang in the rack? You hide in the racks?
I was
Phil
like-
and I used to hide in the racks.
And I remember my mom said once that I think I was hiding in the rack and I started like saying boner because I didn't know what it meant. And that,
Yes, dude.
and
Finally, we get a dick joke out of
I
this guy.
did not
bro.
know. And I remember because I would literally put these things together and then my mom would lose her mind. Like, I had a Nerf gun once. And
Wait, just thinking about you silent in a clothes rack, just like at half volume saying boner, you're like,
Yeah.
boner. I could just hear
and
you
I was
say it.
bouncing from rack to rack. And then and I had no idea what it meant. I probably saw like a bone and that's how that's what happened, because I remember another time I had a Nerf gun and I was watching TV and I shot the Nerf gun at the TV. Okay? And 2 of the darts stuck on the person's head. And I'm like, oh, look at this. This person's horny. And then I started saying horny. And my mom was like, stop saying that, because I didn't know.
You're talking to this. I simp for that type of you. You know me. We're very We're very similar, but we're very different in a lot of ways. You'll get me with that
was
child boner joke. We'll get Dom every single time.
That's not, that was just a thing.
The horny joke is so good, dude.
But it was like something that I made up.
Yeah,
just
it was
based
innocent.
off of like
It was totally innocent.
It was just clearly not something you wanted to be yelling out in public.
Oh, bro, few and far between. You get to see someone grow up into a fully normal functioning human being that was, had a little bit of leash time. Just a little bit of leash time.
I had a little bit of like park time, a little bit of.
Dude, it's hilarious that you effortlessly got that out. It is a weird thing down here. Like, that's
so weird.
They frown upon it because, like, first of all, what you said is valid. Sometimes kids have that thing in them. They just take off.
Oh yeah.
They see something, they're gone. Phil and I, my brother and I, are 16 months apart. You got us together in any social situation between the ages of 3 and 9. Forget about it, dude. We were inventing new shit everywhere we go.
Yeah.
The clothing rack was a huge deal for us. We would hide in the clothing racks, but we would not say a word. That was the funnest part for me because then your mom really goes crazy. Where the hell are these kids?
Just always watching.
Like, they're just gone. Yeah. The other thing we'd like to do was, oh man, this is great. We would go to customer service at any big store. We would go in and tell the person that we lost our mom so that they'd have to use the intercom to call her. But it would be like, we'd say my mom's full name, just weird. Her name was Paula Ann Missana. So we'd literally be like, we lost my mom. Her name's Paula Ann. Her full name's Paula Ann. Can you? So you hear this poor woman, Paula Ann Missana, to the front of the store. We have your kids, like straight up, like the most annoying thing you could be.
Yeah.
We'd just be sitting there dying laughing, waiting for her to walk up. This is awful shit.
Did she have like a look when she knew that you guys were?
Oh my God, yeah. The look was part of the thing.
Yeah.
Like getting the look was like, all right, here it comes.
That's a classic shit disturber.
Oh yeah.
And that is the thing that like pissed everybody off around because I knew exactly how to get that look. And but that's...
My brother did this thing. I don't know how he learned it at such a young age. He learned how to roll his eyes, but based on what was happening, right? Which is pretty mature. If you're young and you're doing that, you had to see it somewhere. You had to pick it up from somewhere. So anytime we would get in trouble for something, he'd do this classic like, and roll his eyes. And my mom couldn't help but to kind of like giggle out of it. She'd be like, how do you even know?
Yeah, what do you even know?
That this is sarcastic right now? Like, you know what I mean? This should not be this vibe at all. Like, you should know that I'm pissed. And she'd end up laughing. Those are the memories. I miss that type of stuff. The innocent stuff where it never hurt anybody. It ended up being okay.
Yeah.
A couple weird ones like that I have memories of that just make me die laughing that I really miss.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have any siblings, correct?
I have a sister.
You have a sister, older or younger?
Younger.
A younger sister. How much younger is she?
2 years younger.
Okay, that's still pretty close, but it's just a brother thing too. We were constantly like in some shit.
Yeah, I never had a brother, but I had god brothers.
Okay.
And when we were kids,
cousins?
No, like my sister's godparents had kids.
Okay.
And then so they were our god brothers.
Oh, that's
my cousin. Like when we were all like when me and my sister and the god brothers were together, it was mayhem. Like that was like
I've never
the ultimate like.
Okay, so this is interesting, and I could be not wrong, or just maybe I'm not in this loop. We don't call the son of our godparent like god brother or sister. Like that's just not even a thing. Those are just friends.
I don't even know if they were.
Like, is that a thing? I'm asking because I never heard it.
Now I don't know. That. Now that you're like,
you just make that up because that's awesome.
I feel like we've never like publicly been like, this is my god brother.
Yeah, would you introduce one of them as your god brother or god sister?
It was just kind of like.
God sister sounds hilarious to me.
Like, it was like when I was a kid, and it's funny because I found like old footage of, all this camera stuff makes sense when I find these old tapes. And my mom, I had no idea was like walking around because, when she was like mid-20s, we were kids, right? Like me, my sister, and my god brothers.
Yeah.
And they would like. I found like home videos of like my mom walking, and it's like there's like a circle, everyone's playing cards with cigarettes, and everyone's talking shit and all that stuff. And like we were always together. Like there was like such a big group of people.
I really miss that, man. That's
Yeah.
a huge part of life that faded away in my family.
It
as well.
happens.
Yeah.
It happens over time. It sucks. Like every year, one less person is at Christmas or
Yep.
whatever,
Mhm.
and you know it sucks. And that's kind of, I feel, the one thing like my mom would always say to me is that you can't be entertained 24 hours of the day, because I would get so bored so fast,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just like, why not? You know, like I could definitely entertain myself.
It's crazy as we get older. I had this concept when I was younger that is the complete opposite of the way things work. I thought as we get older, time would go by slower. Like I would be able to recognize what's going on more, and I'd have more of a grasp on life maybe, to where I could kind of minutely differentiate between moments or cool things that happen in my day. It's exactly the opposite. What happens now is 5 to 6 hours goes by like that. I don't even think about it. And I end up like missing facts about a day. Like it's just crazy how fast time goes.
Well, I've told you that I've, you know, not quit drinking, but I've like really cut back, like just from my
Good for you.
routine. And I've realized that time doesn't speed up when you get older. It's you start drinking or doing substances.
Yeah, dude.
And because when I now go for like when I don't have a drink, I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, I'm going to remember the whole day. And it's a long day.
I always say this shit about substance that is wild. If you really put it into context of like your living situation, you will have no idea how much time you will spend just being fucked up,
Yeah.
feeling fucked up if you're into that sort of thing. So much time, so much that's so disgusting. So much time that there are studies that are done for it. People that are into substance, half their time gets allotted with not the act of like drinking or just being fucked up or recovering from whatever that feeling is. So much time is wasted. As I'm getting older and I'm seeing the time shrink, same amount of time just feels shorter. There's no way I would choose to be fucked up.
Well, that's why I was wondering, like, do you think with smoking weed, you're like jumping through gaps of time in your day?
Man, I don't know. But I do know that without any hard substance in my life, specifically drinking, pills or powders, I can now understand the time for what it is. And even if it goes by fast, the emotions that are attached to it are quieter, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I ultimately think life is being able to deal with amounts of time. Because we all have shit to do, right?
Yeah.
The constant is that everything takes time. And what helps you through those things is how you literally feel during that time.
Yeah.
How your body's feeling, how your mind feels.
How you adapt. It's the whole idea of don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Because every situation, you know, the one thing I can't stand, and like I've recently started doing it out of just being all over the place, but I don't believe that anybody doesn't have time to return a call or a text
or something.
Like, I think when I hear people and they're like, oh, I'm too busy. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, really, what are you doing? Like, if it's like in the industry or like a comic or someone, they're like, oh man, like, because what happens is people start, like, I've just dealt with like people who are like legitimate, successful agents, bookers, people who are like in Hollywood or New York, and they could return an email. And it's like you have friends or people that you're like, how do you not have the ability to return? I don't like texting to begin with. I am a classic phone person.
Okay.
To be honest, I'd rather talk than text.
The difference between people that... So there's two things here, right? And I can sympathize with a little bit of both. The phone in general and just being at the whim of anybody, at any time,
it's exhausting.
Bugs me out.
Yeah.
So I can actually understand when, and I'm going to get shit on for this, I'm good at dealing with what's in front of my face. I will take care of that. But this thing I missed or the something I didn't really need to take care of that day that's sitting in the background, like there's about 10 of those out there, and I know you all hate me. And we're going to get to those things, but I'm not good at that. I feel anxious and overwhelmed by that sometimes.
Yeah.
I know we have to do a certain amount of posts to make this thing fucking work for whatever we're trying to do. I get anxiety from that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's simply the fact that now I'm just tethered to this to make my life work. So I'm not thinking in my head, I'm too busy for someone, I'm arrogant. I'm not thinking I'm arrogant or I'm not having any arrogant thoughts about like, I'm too good for this, but I don't need to text them back. It's simply like, no, like, I feel weird right now. And like, I don't want to be near the phone. It makes me feel strange. Like
I totally get that. Like I will sometimes get into like a zone where I'm just on my phone so much that Amanda, like my wife, will message me. And she'll like call me and I'm like, I don't even want to be on my phone. And I'm like, now I'm like, I don't want to be on the phone.
Dude.
And it's like, I hate how, and this is like an old theory that I've had where people who are married, like our parents or grandparents or whoever that are married for like 50 plus years, it's like, cool. You did how many of those years without cell phones?
What about everything?
Now,
besides just the years of marriage, what about everything?
Well, like, that's the thing because in, pre-cell phone, when you went to work, you were gone. There was no like
you got home at 4. That's when I see you again.
You had that thing to be connected constantly.
It's overwhelming, man. And
it's too much.
Also, here's the other thing. What this is the second half of this. What makes the difference between like professionals and like regular folk, whatever you want to explain,
civilians,
that is, are the people that even if they're anxious, they do the thing that they knew they had to do, which is just make this phone call today. I have to tap in. Of course I feel like shit. I don't want to do any of this shit, but I have to tap in. Like I have to get in, right?
But that's life.
That's life in general, right? Some people's lives don't have to deal with the phone with that, right?
Yeah.
But so I get to a certain degree, like I'm good at taking care of the thing that's like in front of my face.
Yeah.
If I let something linger or put on the back burner for too long, I will forget. Someone will end up maybe not pissed, but just like, well,
hey,
probably can't hit this guy up again for this if I need, which sucks is that limits you as a person, right?
Yeah,
so I would say generally as a rule of thumb, try to deal with stuff like as it comes in, right? But I totally sympathize for anyone that feels overwhelmed by this or like the not text backers, the people who don't text back. I'm notorious for hitting you back on Instagram, but I left the text unanswered for like a year. But I like your thing on Instagram and I texted you back through Instagram. It's like they're like, where the fuck are you doing? Why are you why do you have the phone then? Like
no, it's a really weird thing where I have like right now I'll tell you, and for some reason Amanda thinks this is a problem. I have 359 unread text messages.
Texts, that is an issue. That's weird. I have 1,900 something emails down here.
See, emails I keep clean.
Look at this. Okay. Look at my texts to email ratio and then look at yours. This is hilarious.
You have two texts and 7,400 emails.
Yeah.
I have 359 texts and 12 emails.
That's weird as fuck. 359 texts? You're a worse texter than me, dude.
I'm for sure.
You're bad.
I do not get like I'm
a 359 on the text bubble. I'd be like, whoa! I was in a coma. Like you know what I mean?
To be honest with you, all of these emails are gonna get deleted. I know. There's this 3-line thing here. It shows you all your unread text messages or emails. Delete them all. But the text messages, I don't even know how old some of these go. Like that's
the thing, you can't go back to those. What's going to be hilarious
is replying to someone from like 3 years ago,
and having to delete it. Be like, fuck, why am I can't respond now.
I'm not saying that I'm good.
Some of them are going to be texts that needed to be dealt with then. Like you know what I mean.
And that's the thing. Like if something happened, they probably would have called them or whatever.
But they would have called you or left a message or something. But
no,
that's funny, man.
couple things. I told you I got my my Space Jam shirt on here to represent the Monstars.
This is the Monstars and the Toon Squad, baby.
This is the Monstars here because I actually thought of this after I put the shirt on, but I told you I recently watched the new Space Jam.
I didn't hear good things, man. I'm upset
From
about
me
it.
or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh yeah, it sucks.
Ah, fuck, dude.
It is.
Now I know it sucks. Like,
it is not a good movie. Like,
who's... Two questions before
Yeah.
you even get going. Is MJ still in it?
no,
Fuck it. Well, I'm not.
no, he's
I
absolutely.
don't care about
But
it.
it's weird. He's tagged in it, and I'm wondering. And this is one of the issues I had. Like, and it's funny because I had this thought, and then I just like checked out the reviews, and clearly this is something that other people thought because it was like people on like Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff were saying it, but it really was just like them showing off how much they own because LeBron James is the main character.
So he's the Michael Jackson in the movie now?
Michael Jordan.
Michael.
He-
See how many sports that I play.
He-
So who takes the place of MJ
he takes the place of
is
MJ.
LeBron James in this.
Is
LJ.
LeBron James. LJ.
So we go from MJ to LJ. All right.
And he is like, look, we don't all have to do everything. You're good at basketball, stick to it. You know, no
Uh-huh.
one said you have to act. And it's like, the problem is Michael Jordan was just so much cooler. He really, I think he like, there's one scene where he like laughs and it's like just his face. Like I remember that.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, like he was just like a cool guy in the movie. Like
he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, and like LeBron James is like, I don't know if it was his actor's touch or if someone told him to be very facial, but he has like these weird facial expressions.
You're bringing me back to the original movie now. Who plays? Who's that guy?
Wayne Knight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah.
you're hilarious,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
That was great. Wasn't
Yeah.
that his manager in the
In the
original one?
So-
he was MJ's manager,
Yes.
right? Who?
And Bill Murray was the
Yes,
other person.
the friend he
Yeah.
went golfing with, right? Okay. So the things I remember that really got me into that or kept me watching it was there were little things about Michael Jordan. I was obsessed with the Chicago Bulls when I was a kid. My dad went on a restaurant trip with one of his restaurant buddies when he was in the business back in the day. They went to Chicago to do a little R&D, and he ended up going to a Chicago Bulls game, and he brought back a bunch of memorabilia, literally 2 pairs of the Jordan 1s for me and my brother.
Wow.
It was like a life-changing like trip back. One of us got a Pippen jersey, one of us got a Jordan jersey, argued over that for 10 years. The sneakers, it was a huge deal. So when Space Jam was a thing, I was enthralled. I'm like, okay, Michael Jordan's in a movie. Like, we need to, this is going to be huge for us, right? And everything he did was cool. From the management, Wayne Knight, that's his name, was his manager in that movie. Newman, that's what I was saying. Newman from Seinfeld. Yeah. So when he picks him up and says, I'm going to pick you up and then we'll stop at McDonald's and get you a Big Mac before the game. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
That is like quintessential. It doesn't get cool. This dude plays professional sports. He's eating a fucking Big Mac before the game.
Product placement like crazy.
They killed that. Like they really killed that. So I almost don't want to watch this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
look, it's something that if you have nothing to do and you want to kind of go through like a nostalgic thing, watch it, you know. But there was problems I had. First of all, LeBron James, too much facial expressions. Like I'm telling you, there's like a dance scene in it.
all
like
right, Toon Squad, hands in. I can just see how corny that shit.
I don't even know if they were the Toon Squad. Like it was
What, they weren't called Toon Squad?
I don't. They might have been actually.
Monstars
it wasn't
or the Toon
It
Squad?
wasn't the Monstars though.
Your
it was
kid.
the Goons or something like that.
What?
They
Why
modernized
do they do
it.
this,
They
dude?
modernized it too much, where it was like trying to be cool.
They're trying to be inclusive to everybody.
Well, they
That's
were
what's happening.
They were just trying. Well, it was a movie about humans in cartoons. I don't think you could get any more inclusive than that. But it was like the problem with the new one was it went too much into a cartoon, where the original Space Jam was real life with animation.
Really, it was a real life movie with shots of animation.
Exactly.
Right?
This was like, I would say 20 minutes of the movie was a cartoon. And like he goes to like Toonland, and it's just a whole, it really was not a good movie. Like, unfortunately.
That's just hurt so bad to hear. This was the first time like you're seeing personalities of Muggsy Bogues. You're seeing personalities. They had
And that's
the real Charles Barkley, like you're seeing B-roll from the funniest part of that movie is when Charles Barkley is explaining how he gets caught by the alien or whatever. And it comes up my leg, and then he does like the whole shake thing or whatever.
And maybe that's social media ruined it because now you know who LeBron James is, right?
Yeah, like, dude, you're making such a good point. The mystery was the coolest part of that.
Yeah, you're like, I've never seen Michael Jordan outside of a commercial or a basketball game.
I'm hearing Charles Barkley speak.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not a thing. Like, terrible knucklehead. That's the first time where, like, that makes sense. Like, in my life, I'm putting the picture to the voice, and I'm really, as a kid, my brother and I latched onto that. That was a classic in my household. Like,
no, it was such a good movie, and I did have a conspiracy theory about the movie where this is a spoiler alert. So the spoiler alert is that at the end of the movie, Bugs Bunny dies. Okay?
Oh, that kind of fucked me up a little bit.
He dies.
I don't even want to watch it, but he actually dies?
Well, so what happens is, are you planning on watching it?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I should have asked you that first. Yeah. So there is, this is how crazy it is. The algorithm is alive for Warner Brothers Studio. And this is where they were showing off how much they own. Like, I'm assuming that they own DC Comics because Superman's in it. The Mask is in it. Like, they literally have all these characters.
They cameoed cartoons?
They literally have so many people in it where you're like, what is this? This is like a massive commercial for
Family Guy? Yeah.
Yeah, like they're saying like, oh, we own all this stuff. But so the algorithm is trying to come out of the computer.
So the algorithm is essentially like the protagonist or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the
like,
antagonist.
The antagonist. Sorry.
Yeah.
Help me with the movie vocab.
So he tries to come out, and LeBron James, his kid, is a computer. He wants him to be a basketball player, but he makes video games. And he made this basketball game that it's like almost finished.
How fitting.
Yeah. And then they end up playing the game in the movie, and LeBron James isn't obviously aware of his kid's stuff.
Just another time LeBron James gets to be himself in a video game.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
So he ends up, the bet is if they lose, all the Looney Tunes get deleted. And then if they win, they can survive, right? Like it goes along those lines.
Okay.
So the algorithm is like fixing the game. He's cheating, obviously, and there's a glitch. And the problem was the last time the kid tested the glitch out, it deleted the character. So LeBron is like, I'll do it. I'm a human. I won't get deleted. And then last second, Bugs Bunny steps in and does the double step back fadeaway, which is the glitch. And they win the game. Everyone's cheering.
And he gets deleted?
And then he gets deleted. So it's a sad moment near the end of the movie. And then now LeBron James is in real life. He's out of the game. His family's out. Everyone's zapped back to reality.
Yeah.
And he's taking his kid to the basketball camp that his kid didn't want to go to, but now he has a new respect for his father because they bonded. Come to his surprise, he's going to the computer gaming camp that he wanted to go to the whole time. It was during the same period.
Oh, okay.
So the kid's like, oh my God, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, give me back the basketball. And he's like, I'm going to hold on to this.
Okay.
The kid walks away. LeBron James is laughing, turns around. Bugs Bunny standing there. This is where I thought.
Why did I just get actual goosebumps? I was shitting on the movie. I'm like literally sitting here like, and then what, Mark?
This is where Bugs Bunny is now in the real world.
Wow.
So I'm wondering if LeBron James had a mental breakdown. And the whole movie was in his head.
It takes place in LJ's brain.
He's a loony. He's gone loony in the movie.
This is a great theory.
Because in Toonland or whatever, it makes sense. It obviously doesn't make sense, but it does. That there's cartoons and all that stuff,
they can
right?
get deleted in their land.
In that world.
In Toonland,
but in the real world, which is every day, no one else sees Bugs Bunny but LeBron James. So because earlier in the movie, he has a pitch meeting. They try and sell him on a new thing.
Okay.
And he gets stuck in an elevator. I'm wondering if he had a mental breakdown in the elevator.
Like you usually do in this elevator.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if something happened. And that is my Space Jam conspiracy.
No shit. I love that. All right, so okay, and I have another question as
Yeah.
you were setting this up. You know the part in the movie where Bill Murray goes on their team
Yeah.
and travels into Toonland? It's
Yes.
different. So what's really cool about that is the setting of the movie starts in real life, like
Yeah.
our
Yeah, yeah.
touch you type of life, right? Michael Jordan, that whole thing, Wayne Knight, they're doing their thing. The I'll never forget merging into Toonland.
Yeah.
Because Bill Murray goes with us there. Like the people we know venture into Toonland. Do they do that differently in this movie?
Yeah.
They do, but they do both, where you're in real life and then you go and
it goes right. It goes from real movie. He gets zapped to Toonland, and then he's a cartoon
forever.
for
the
about
rest of the
20 to 25 minutes of the movie. He's a cartoon, so it's like his
Really?
voice, and then they cut to the real world. But this is where I'm wondering if this is where he had a mental breakdown.
Okay.
Because he's a cartoon character, and then once the game is beginning, then the algorithm makes, this is where it gets even worse. He makes the cartoons real life.
Oh, damn.
So they're like 3D characters, and then LeBron James comes back to life.
Okay. That
It's
sucks.
not good.
That-
Like,
yeah.
it really is not good. Like,
You telling it sounded great.
it
like
is not good. I just want to see where we're at time-wise.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. That's so funny, man. Hey ho, what you gonna do? Hey ho, what you gonna do? Party people, get up! It's time to slam now. We got a real thing going now. Welcome to the Space Jam. All right. Hey ho, what you gonna do? Hey ho, what you gonna do? Party people in the place. I don't remember the words, man. I would get so hyped to that shit, dude.
Okay, you know what? The music.
That's your shit. That's the music you like.
The music to the Space Jam, I at least thought that this was going to be a good soundtrack. And
It's got to be like new R&B and trap shit, like just like
Yeah, it's
like
very
radio
weird.
shit. Yeah,
It's really,
God damn it, they killed
it's
it.
really not like a good remake. And I get it because I was like, maybe it's for a younger group,
Demographic. Yeah,
you know, but it's like, it's not good. It really was, to me, it was a lazy movie.
that sucked. Think about the old one because everyone was watching that, digging it. My dad watched that with us and was like, "This is
Man,
hilarious."
Space Jam was such a good movie.
It was so good.
Space Jam
So good.
1 is a life-changing like movie. And
Would never disagree with that.
like, did you ever see Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, good movie.
Roger
Classic.
Rabbit was...
They did that too. They did a good job with doing that type of stuff in it
did you,
too.
did you know that Roger Rabbit apparently is based off of Los Angeles?
No, I didn't know that. Why? Like the character itself is based off the city?
The movie Roger Rabbit is based off of the history in Los
Oh,
Angeles.
no shit. I didn't know
So
that.
in Roger Rabbit, they are shutting down the train station. That's what the whole thing's about.
Okay, I do remember that.
So Los Angeles was apparently being built like New York for the subway system.
Mhm.
And then the car industry came in and we're
Oh.
like, no, we're shutting this down. LA's going to be a driving place now. And that's what happens in Roger Rabbit, where the train station is shutting down
Mhm.
and they're bringing whatever the factory is or whatever. So Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who framed? That's the rest. Sorry, who framed Roger Rabbit?
is the history of Los Angeles, because in LA to this day, you know, you can see train tracks on the road. If you go to like Santa Monica, there's like Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, there are train stations and
No shit.
there are actual tracks still in Santa Monica on Santa Monica Boulevard that
Dude.
you can see. What do you do in this situation when you walk into a bathroom
Why
after
we always talk about bathrooms, dude?
that's where a lot of the day is spent.
Our days,
Yeah.
for sure.
So have you ever walked into the bathroom after somebody just pooped and scooted? Did the old dip and split? The shard and dart? When someone walked, because it's like, what do you...
You're going into my realm of humor right now, and I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I could do this with you all day.
But what do you do when you
A
walk
shit
in?
and dip?
When someone just shit and dipped? So you're
Here's the
walking
deal-
into their smell
Bro,
now
here's the deal with this,
in
right?
a public bathroom.
This is so funny that you're saying this because I'm gonna go 360 with this entire situation.
Yeah.
Not only have I thought about this a million times,
Yeah.
I talked about it a million times. This is where I shine.
Okay,
Okay?
Let's hear it. Let's shine this.
No
turd.
one ever in the world wants to smell the inside of someone else's body.
No.
It's a very obvious thing. Maybe there's some people fall through the cracks of that kink life. That's what does it for them, right? But I'd say 93% of the world is not into that smell. But if we're using logic like humans should in their daily life, how can you, in your right mind, ever be mad at someone for taking a shit where they're supposed to take a shit?
Oh wow, you did come around here. You came full circle. Yeah.
I told you. So I've thought about this a million times.
Okay.
I've walked into a bathroom when someone literally just shat and bat. Classic, right? The first thought in my mind is fuck you.
Yeah. Well, because you're slapped
You
with it.
asshole. Like literally, you just ruined this space for me, right? This is a space that's supposed to be ruined with that specific act. It's supposed to go down there. You know when you'd be really pissed? If you stepped in someone's shit in the restaurant, Mark, that's when you'd be really pissed off.
Yeah. That would
the whole
be,
world would be a different place
That's
at
where
that
the
point.
kids tax comes in.
We got a call back from Mark DeBonis.
No, like you got me thinking. Do you know how what a mood ring is? Obviously,
Yeah.
Like what happens if they had like not like a poo ring, but it's like kind of in the idea that on the outside of public bathrooms, it changes color due to the smell. So would you?
Whoa.
We can add this to the Poober app.
Oh,
Would
yeah.
you be as mad if you walked into a bathroom and you knew what it was like? You can see, oh, it's a light shade of brown. You know that there's going to be a scent in here, right? Like maybe there's a way to
This is fucking crazy, dude. Okay, I love this shit, dude.
Yeah, because the question is now, it's like a baton of shit that you've been passed. Because now when you walk out of the bathroom, even if you just took a piss, someone's going to think that you just shit in the bathroom. So you're now passing on the baton turd to the next person because you're walking out of the bathroom and now someone's like, oh my God, that guy destroyed the bathroom in there.
In almost a year of being your friend, I have never heard you talk this much about shit.
Yeah, no, it's
I didn't think you were cool with those words even.
Oh,
you,
yeah, it's
you
in
were
there.
so quick too with the shit and dip and fart and dart, and
Yeah,
you
man.
killed that, dude. It
well
was really
because
good.
it is like you're in a pickle when you walk into
Shit pickle.
you're in a shit pickle when you walk into a bathroom and it smells because
But you're not, Mark.
okay, but now so you know what I do? I leave the toilet seat up. When I leave the toilet seat up so the next person knows
that you didn't shit.
Yeah, like I'll walk out like I'm like
oh,
my
that's where you're at with it though too. I didn't think about that.
No, I'm all about. I don't want people to
You
think
don't
that
wanna
it
get
was
blamed.
me. Yeah, no, that's what this is all about.
I thought you were
That's
just
what
mad at the way the shit smells. Like you can't be mad at it smelling bad.
That's why the whole poop and scoot, you know, like because they're like in and out, and now you're left with the baton, the turd baton.
Okay, you don't want to get blamed for someone else's shit.
No,
That's where we're coming from.
what happens if you're in a restaurant, okay, and it's packed, and you go into a bathroom and someone just destroyed it, and it's like they're universal bathrooms.
Yep.
So you now walk out of the bathroom, and there's a lineup of people that are like going to the bathroom. Maybe 3 people just showed up, and someone now walks in and it stinks. They think that was you, and now you have to sit in that restaurant, and everyone thinks that you destroyed the bathroom. That's what I'm saying. That's why I leave the toilet seat up when I leave, because I want them to at least know that I didn't do it.
Whoever has the balls to shit in the restaurant bathroom, not care, and walk out, that guy fucks.
That's
Like,
what I'm
whoever
saying.
that guy is, you know what I mean?
That's not me. That is not me. I cannot I am not that person where I could walk out and there's a lineup of people and I'd be like, yeah, good luck. Follow that.
I love this, man. It's so funny because you can't, like, everyone should have a neutral bathroom personality, right? Like they should be like, look, this is a blank slate. Whatever happened in here, maybe I don't have to do what I'm going to do because I don't feel comfortable with what happened before me, but I'm not going to pass judgment because this is where those things are supposed to happen, right? If there's shit all over the wall, that's a whole different, I can't believe we're talking about it like that. That's a whole different thing, right?
You got to break it down logically.
This is my favorite shit, literally. So yeah, I'm trying to not ever like pass judgment on the place where that stuff belongs, because logic tells us if this wasn't, where are we supposed to go, right?
Yeah.
But I too, airplanes, man, are the worst.
Oh yeah.
So if you got to shit on a plane, and I'm sure you have too. I've been on long flights. If you got to shit on a plane, that walk back, you're smelling everyone's shit on the plane. I don't care what you think. You're not able.
I have never done that.
You've never shit on a plane?
No. I've never have. My body shuts down. I'm telling you, I don't eat. I don't eat before I fly. I don't add any X factors into my body.
No variables.
No
for the flight
variables.
day.
There is not even going up to it. I have never gone to the bathroom on a plane.
I was going to start, my response to this question was, I try my hardest never to have to go in public.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I don't want to do that at a restaurant. Right? I don't think anyone really wants to do that at a restaurant.
sometimes, when nature calls, as they say.
I can't believe we said shit so many times. Now it's nature. So sometimes nature calls, and no matter where you are, you're dropping trout.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? But for me, I have a similar experience to body shutting down with public places. Like, I would much rather shit at a Wegmans than a restaurant. You know what I mean?
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like that. Some type of store than...
Yeah, Home Depot.
Home Depot is actually... Some would say that's a luxury.
It is a good one. It is a good one.
They got some good cans.
Secret, go into the baby changing bathrooms. No one's ever in them.
Okay, now here's the thing,
That's
though.
what I do.
Here's the thing, though. If you were to take a shit in the baby changing bathroom and you walked out and there was a family with their baby
Yeah.
and you're Mark, lots of judgment is being passed right now. Far worse than the shit judgments even. So,
because I'm in the baby changing
yeah,
bathroom?
dude, alone, a grown-ass man alone in the baby changing bathroom. Something's up there.
Is that like the equivalent of parking in a handicap spot?
It's worse. Because
What?
it's worse than not like, okay, saying you parked in a handicap spot because you need to go somewhere quick, that's one thing. Seeing someone in the act of pulling out a handicap spot,
yeah.
that's like, all right, he's gone.
Yeah.
This guy walks out of the handicap bathroom, and then you're making eye contact. Oh, hey. And the whole family's like, fuck, I have to change my kid in this place where this grown-ass man was just in by himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would almost be more pumped if a high schooler or teenager came out of there with a girl or whatever, or his boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like that, I would be like, okay, I know that happened in there. But what did this guy do? What did this fucking grown-ass man do?
I like the private bathroom. That's what it is.
Everyone likes a private bathroom.
That's why. That's why I go to the baby. I go to the baby changing bathrooms. I don't know if they're the family bathroom or what they're called, but I'm all about them.
I've learned so much today, dude. For a kid who was on a leash, you're surprisingly really put together. You're well spoken. You don't freak out as much as I do. You have it.
Yeah.
You have it together, man. I'm
Thank
starting
you.
to think
That is
my
the first
parents.
time I've ever heard that.
My parents really should have bought a couple leashes. I think, dude.
You had to have been leashed at one point.
That's so funny, man.
Man.